Hello and welcome to Football Brehz, the platform where we discuss, debate, and banter everything football. My name is Ben and I'll be your host for today. Back with us, we have our very own Jules LFC. What's up in his mansion?
Yeah. See my hand now.
And we have a new guest. Well, second time now, so not so new.
Yeah, second time.
Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's time to do the rematch. I got my shirt ready.
Oh, damn. Round two.
Awkward.
Ding, ding, ding. Right. So, guys, as you know, this is the show where we discuss hot topics. So we have our preview show where we preview upcoming games, but this is where we discuss hot topics. And this week's hot topic has been around COVID and match postponement. In the Premier League, as you know, there's been quite a lot of matches being postponed between probably since COVID started, but worse still has been since December to now. We've had quite a bit or a lot of games being postponed. I think about almost 20 games have reached right now that are outstanding. So, and we know following January, fixtures is going to build up with cup games, with European games. It's going to get very peak very soon for a lot of the teams. So the question and the topic of discussion today, okay, are Premier League postponement due to COVID getting a bit out of hand? What are the negatives of this? Do you think now that Premier League teams are taking advantage of this to set themselves up if they feel that they're not comfortable in a position to play a fixture? Jules, what do you think?
I think it's a bit of a toss of a coin. Like it's 50-50. Some teams have legit reasons as to why they can't play, and I don't want to say some teams are faking it, but I don't know. I just feel like certain circumstances, some teams could do better with the game not happening, and they could do with the rest. Not say that they can't play, but it'll be more advantageous if they chose not to play then and had the game postponed until a later date. But I think most of the cases that have come about so far are genuine concerns or teams which have genuine concerns.
Fair enough. Before I go to you, Mark, so let's just recap the Premier League guidelines, all right? The Premier League guidelines is that a squad needs to have 13 outfield players and a goalkeeper, okay? And this includes registered experienced players under 21 as well, okay? Now, let's be real. Majority of the teams in the Premier League now have a huge squad, okay? But I think the grey area has been around the number of cases, because in addition to that, when they're looking at how many cases outbreak you have within the club, they're considering staff as well. So, Mark, do you think there's a bit of a grey area and an advantage for clubs, because when they're handing in their case that they've got a COVID outbreak and they're giving in a number of people that are tested positive or are self-isolating, if it includes staff, does that have a negative or positive impact when the rule says you need to have 13 outfield players?
I think to some teams it's probably a loophole, because if you think about it, staff in terms of like coaches, they interact with players. Yes, if a coach has it, they might have affected X amount of players and so forth. But if it's like the dinner lady, what kind of contact have players been having with the dinner lady? Or the person that, I don't know, does the brochures, or I don't know, the person that works in the market and that happens to have a job in the stadium or whatever. There is loads of levels of people that work in the stadium or within the training ground or within the football club that would have limited or no interactions with such players. Second point I want to say, can people just wash their hands and like cover their mouths? Because this is getting a bit ridiculous. When you look at teams like Burnley, not that I hate Burnley or anything like that, but they're going to go down. But Burnley have had so many like matches postponed, and it seems like I don't know if they're trying to do it because to me it would seem like they're trying to disorient teams, so you can't get form against them because you play a game, you might have won your game, and then you got to wait 2 weeks to play your next game because it's been postponed from playing at Burnley. And then when it comes to the end of the season, when you got to catch up all these games, these other teams might be tired because they're playing like 4 games in 2 weeks or something mad like that. And I think some teams are using it as an advantage. I think some of it is clubs like talking crap, because also with like anything medical, I can, as Arsenal or whatever, I could say, oh, like there's 10 cases at our club, we got to postpone the match. But who says there's actually 10 cases? Like, I don't have to give people's names and this, that, and the other. All I got to say is there's 10 cases, 10 positive results. I'm not legally bound to give people's names. So how can anyone prove that there's actually 10 people? I could just say it to say, do you know what? Our squad's looking a bit dead at the moment. I don't want to play this informed team. Let's play them later on in the season. Hopefully they'll get some bad run of games and they'll just reschedule us at a time which is more benefit to us. Or when we're in a bit of form, you know, we'll play them again. I don't know.
So I obviously I don't work in Premier League clubs, so I don't know. But my suspicion is that obviously when these teams submit this request for postponement, I'm hoping they do have to provide some sort of evidence to support what they're claiming. If they don't, then that's a bit ridiculous. But it's quite interesting you mentioned Burnley, because Burnley at the moment have the highest number of outstanding games in the Premier League. Okay, they've got 5 outstanding games that they need to play. Now, Jules, this is the thing. So Burnley have 5, and then the second one is Arsenal, who have 4. Right now, to me, both Burnley and Arsenal don't have any European games to worry about. I'm not sure about Burnley about cup games either, but I think Arsenal have one cup final,
the League Cup semi-final, and the League Cup with us.
Semi-final. So to me, I'm like, well, yeah, they could easily afford to postpone games because they know that they can, because they're not involved in too many other competitions. Whereas the likes of Liverpool, Everton, Spurs, and other big top 6 teams that are involved in Europe, it's an impact for them, especially, you know, coming up to February where, you know, we're starting to play European games again. What's your thoughts on this?
So with us, obviously we've got the semi-final for the League Cup. I'm not saying the League Cup's an attractive game, but if Arsenal postpone the next leg, because obviously we postpone the first leg, fair enough. If they postpone this one again and it gets extended even further, especially for a League Cup game, as you said, when we're just walking up into the Champions League now, I don't think we've got the squad depth to welcome those added kind of padded games, especially for the likes of the League Cup. So it does frustrate me. If it was up to me personally, when we've had the first Liverpool-Arsenal game and that got postponed by us, raising the request, from what I understood, I don't know if it's true, but I understood that we had no keepers. So I heard that we were going to play Milner at the back, and that's not fair. Okay, that I understand, we can cancel it. Arsenal have got their fair share of injuries and COVID to deal with as well. I get that. That's fair as well. But if you had the choice to like field youngsters, but it's the League Cup. Let's just get it over and done with, man. Because like, as you said, it doesn't affect them as much as it affects us. We're still in the run for certain things. Okay, Premier League, maybe not. But we've got Champions League to play for. I would at least want to get the finals of the League Cup out of the way so we can know whether we're going to win or lose. And just, continue with our games. I mean, fair enough. Okay, actually, the only benefit I can see from this is if the game's postponed, hopefully by the time the game is back, we'll have Salah and Mane.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Salah and Mane, because part of the COVID rules as to how you can submit requests for postponement, it talks about obviously staff and players testing positive for COVID. It mentions players and staff who are self-isolating, and it mentions players that are unavailable through to injury or illness. It doesn't mention players being unavailable due to international duty, especially with the African Cup of Nations right now. So imagine if there's a team that's hit with that in addition.
I mean, you also got to remember that there's going to be some international games coming up soon anyways. So it's not even just AFCON. We've got Taki's going to play for Japan soon. He's going out. We got I think England have a couple of games coming soon as well. Like, the squad's going to be messed up. Even without AFCON, it's still going to be messed up. So, yeah, if that counts, then that'll be a great blessing, to be honest.
Because not only, so we've got an international break coming up. So not only are a lot of players going to go out for an international break to do international duties, but they're all going to have to comply to all these different rules when coming back in relation to isolation. And then you've got outbreaks and you've got injuries, you've got all of this. So it's going to get very messy soon. Do you think that Premier League need to reconsider this? Do you and if they do, what do they need to do? Just completely just say you're not allowed to postpone, or what?
Nah, because if they had to reconsider this, that just sounds like they're gonna do what they did 2 seasons ago. Just lock off the whole thing or do behind closed door games. No one really wants that. If this is the way forward or this is how it has to be, then I get it. But I think if this keeps on going and they feel like it's a problem, then 100% they're just gonna like either end the season early. I don't think they will do that actually, but I think that's one of the options, or just go back to playing games behind closed doors.
True. So my next point, Mark, I'll start with you. So throughout all of these postponements and everything, I think one of the things that makes Premier League entertaining are always the battles going on, whether it's a relegation battle, whether it's a top 4 battle, or top 6 battle. Do you think that that's been killed off in a way with the constant postponement of games?
I think as a fan, yes, because say we get, I don't know, a couple months further before the end of the season, and say all the games haven't been played, sometimes it's hard to like, I don't know, I think there's always like a buzz with like, you know, someone going down the last day of the season, someone winning the league the last day of the season, and you're not really going to get that when there's maybe 2 or 3 games left for teams to play, and I think that makes football less entertaining. And also I feel like, you know, the Premier League's the most watched league around the world, maybe La Liga because it's all of South America, but let's not talk about that. But it's still one of the most watched leagues in the world, and I feel that fans internationally will probably get a bit like, well, why am I following this if it's a bit like, you know, disjointed? Because they might already be watching leagues that are different from us anyway, and it's like they're probably used to like on a Saturday watching football, on a Wednesday maybe after evening watching a Premier League game. If things are getting postponed, I think it's going to mess up people's rhythm of actually watching football and enjoying football. And stuff like that. And also, like, if you're used to going to games, what's going to happen? Are we going to now, like, as you said, play them behind closed doors or play like empty stadium games again? Like, what's the point? I understand you've got to look at like player safety, fan safety, staff safety, all that kind of stuff. So I understand the need for this, and this is possibly how football's going to be for the next 2 to 3 years, because again, a vaccine doesn't prevent you from getting a disease; it just, you know, makes you like, I don't know, recover quicker or whatnot. But yeah, I think as a fan, it's less enjoyable if games are getting postponed left, right, and centre.
True. It's interesting. For me personally, so as a Spurs fan, obviously we've had quite a few games cancelled at the moment, and it's frustrating because in a way we're in the back of our head, we're like, okay, you know, we're in this position in the league. If we win our 3 outstanding games, we're in the top 4, amazing. But at the same time, it's disheartening because you're like, there's a big if we win, and not only to mention the fact that for me, what's been frustrating is the manner in which the games have been postponed. I'm not sure about you guys, but if a game gets postponed 24 hours beforehand, I think it's just a bit last minute. Do you know what I mean? If you think so, I'll give you an example. You know, at the moment in the world, we're constantly talking about us being more efficient, to save the planet, to look after things and recycle and all of this. And one of the things is stadium food preparation. So if a match, you know, the last match against Arsenal got cancelled very short notice, and Tottenham had loads of food already purchased and ready for the fans. And all of that had to go to waste. Some of it, yes, could go to food banks, but some of it couldn't, and it's wasted. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that there's also a massive logistical issue there with the last minute cancellations?
Who are you asking, me or Mark?
You, Jules.
Me.
Come on.
Yes and no. Obviously, it's costing money, obviously, but I don't think it's, you know, detrimental to the club's finances that they're losing money. You know what I mean? I don't think it's that deep. I feel like most of the expenditure that you could say is deep is, you know, the cost towards the training for the week. Only to then find out the cost of the transport to get the players to the club, the club if they're playing away. Security, all of this. That's more detrimental to the clubs than food, to be honest with you. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think it's that big a hit. If it was, I feel like some teams will be asking for some sort of compensation. But yeah, I don't think it's that big. Sorry, I just want to add one more thing. Sorry. I don't know how it's gonna be going forward because Boris has basically said from next Thursday that there's no masks or anything like that. You know what I mean? So if he's waving away the whole idea that like COVID isn't that deep, I can only imagine the rest of the Premier League is just gonna follow suit and say, "Oh, it's fine. Just keep playing. If games get postponed, they get postponed." But yeah, sorry, I just wanted to add that.
No, that's fine. I was gonna say I think it's been a long time since Premier League football clubs really care about the money they get from food at stadiums, because I mean the ticket sales do not cover the wages for the players for the weekend for most Premier clubs. Maybe Burnley because they're crap and they don't have a lot of money or whatever. Sorry, it's just like they got more rugby fans than football fans. It's one of them cities where everyone watches rugby, no one really watches football. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So like a team like Tottenham, for example, as much as it's a waste and that food could go to like needy, unfortunate people, whatever. Tottenham owners and the Tottenham brass or whatever, they don't really care about that kind of cost because they probably make more money from Premier League sponsor money that they get than they ever do from like revenue from food sales, even though it's extra. I mean, like obviously who doesn't want money, and you guys, your owners love money. But anyway, I don't really think they really care, to be honest. I don't think it's that deep. I know it's bad, but I think going forward what they're going to have to start doing is probably supplying less food per game, so maybe games will sell out of food, but that's better than having a wastage. So when there's like, for example, not a game, you're not throwing so much stuff away. That's the only way you can really get around it. But I don't think they really care that much because they make so much money through advertisement and what do you call it, like selling their rights to other countries.
TV sales is the biggest one, isn't it?
Yeah, like the Sky deal is still number one, but I mean, even selling the Premier League to other countries as well, they make money through that as well. So
yeah.
That's what I mean. They can't cancel the games. But sorry, I just want to further add.
Yeah.
You remember certain clubs were trying to do furlough to like their staff, Liverpool, and unfortunately, that seemed to me like they obviously cared about their finances and whatnot. But if food shortage isn't even trying to make them like consider changing any plans, then I don't think it's that big. Anyway, so I just want to add that.
Yeah, sure.
So can we all agree that? Or what do you think? Do you think we there is enough to suggest that teams are taking advantage of this protocol?
So, I don't think so. Sorry, go on. Yeah,
I'll talk about like the North London derby because I think that's what you're really itching to talk about, Ben. I personally think it is a bit, like because even I think when we were looking at the rules, an experienced under 21s doesn't count for League Cup, but a team like Arsenal, they just play their under 21s in the league, in the Carabao Cup all the time. So technically, some of their players who played like almost every game of the Carabao Cup would have more experience than maybe an under 21 that's played 2 games in the league. So I think Arsenal probably could have fielded a team against you guys that just know they would have lost because they got 7 injuries, 4 players on AFCON. So I'm not saying Arsenal definitely did it. I mean, because I don't want to get sued by Stan Kroenke. But what I want to say is that that to me is a bit suspect. They cancelled it then because they couldn't fill the team, but they got enough players in the under 21s. They got enough players in the actual whole squad probably to fill every position. They have all their goalies are fine. They got defenders, they got strikers, midfielders, whatever. I just think it's a bit suspect. I think they probably felt they didn't want to play you guys with a weaker squad, so they'll just try get it cancelled.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that you focused on the London derby, but let's be real, their missing game is also against Liverpool and Chelsea. So I'm thinking these guys are avoiding the top 6 teams, for the time being, or are they not? What do you think, Jules?
In our case, I can speak for Liverpool because that's the club I would know more than the others, I guess. But in our case, if I can't see us postponing any games going forward, but if we were to, then I can only imagine if there's some sort of slight handy trickery behind it, it's probably like a fake COVID scare. But otherwise, I don't think that we're taking advantage per se. I don't think Arsenal are taking advantage. I think if there's any team that's taking advantage, it's probably Burnley. But at the end of the day, they're bottom anyways. Whether it helps them or not, they can have a run of games, and what they're probably hoping for is that end of the season where, if they're playing that many games consistent back to back, they're just going to have the form running through until the end of the season, and that could help them, fair enough. But I can't see any of the top 6 taking advantage of it, to be honest. Even Spurs, you guys have legit injuries, so.
Yeah, all right. Well, on that note, we're going to end it here. Thank you very much, guys, for coming in and contributing. thank you for people watching. I hope the topic is interesting to you, and would love to hear your views on it. You know, do you think the current protocols are kind of accessible to be taken advantage of by Premier League teams that are under pressure, or not? Let us know in the comments. Follow, subscribe, keep in touch. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Jules. On that note, we are out.
Peace.
Peace. Oh yeah. Let's just say peace one more time.